New Year is also a season for hope about what's to come, and let's see if our predictions here for Story of 2024 reflect that. Otis, we'll start with you. What's your
I'm going to get
prediction
this
for
one
Story
right.
of the Year?
My story to watch is the state legislature versus our local judicial system. And we touched on this a little bit in the first segment. But I predict that you're going to see a lot of saber rattling. It's already started with Brent Taylor has come up with a lot of a legislative package that targets criminal justice reform here. He's been highly critical of D.A. Mulroy and the courts, and with some righteousness in that. But it's not just Brent Taylor. It's going to be Cameron Sexton. It's probably going to be the governor. They're all going to be looking at Memphis and Shelby County's judicial system and turning an eye on that to make some changes, whether people like Mulroy wants those changes or not. The legislature is loaded for bear to do this, and that'll be a story to watch.
I don't think it's going to be the governor, though. The governor is far more moderate on criminal justice issues than Mayor Strickland is. For example.
But
they've crossed.
But he's been critical too of a lot of the crime and stuff that's going on in Memphis. I'll certainly say that he's not going to push back against anything that the legislature does.
He is a
Especially
strong
not
believer
Senator
in,
Taylor.
he is a strong believer in reform and prevention, so that maybe will temper some of that. We'll see. We'll see about that. All right, Sam, your choice for Story of the Year next year.
I think what it's already been a huge story this fall, and you're going to see more of it, but the stadiums, and really specifically FedEx Forum.
Yeah.
What happens with that, and it's not because the Grizzlies are threatening to get up and leave town, but just because it is such an important thing, and it's on the front burner right now. You know, it's now really front and center of how is this lease going to be extended, what's going to happen with downtown, and all that's tied together. And I think we're going to have a lot of headlines about that in 2024.
Mayor Strickland had originally wanted a package that was going to not only take care of FedEx Forum and Liberty Bowl or Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, but also he was hoping for a new pro soccer stadium and renovating AutoZone Park. That has kind of fallen by the wayside, much to the chagrin of those two ladder sports teams. Do you think they are permanently off the burner at this point?
I think you really have to ask where the money is for FedEx Forum, right? The problem and the reason that two stadiums came to bear, the Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium and FedEx Forum, is the city didn't get enough money at the General Assembly last year. They got $350 million in cash. They got all these taxes extended that really pay for the future of FedEx Forum, but that's not enough for those other two things. And we're in an inflationary world. What was $400 million, many years ago, like 2019, that's a much higher price now. And so that the big macro things have definitely affected that, and also interest rates. If interest rates go down, that pot of money gets bigger because it can be bonded for more.
Yeah, good point there. Deidre?
I think the story of the year is watching Mayor-elect Paul Young and his management style. I think, as Susie said, it's a open slate. We've got a lot to learn about him, but one thing I noticed is that he's about to be the chief executive of the city of Memphis, and someone who he worked for will now work for him. And when I was sitting at the unveiling of Mayor Strickland's portrait unveiling, and Doug McGowan spoke wonderful things about Mayor Strickland, and he called him Mayor Jim Strickland. But when he spoke about the mayor-elect, he called him Paul. Very disrespectful, I thought. And so walking that dynamic and navigating that, it's going to be interesting to see from day one how he manages someone who managed him.
Interesting.
Good point.
And what it could also mean or predict, and I'm just predicting, is that the city, certainly, Paul Young is going to be our mayor, but our co-mayor may very well be Doug McGowan.
Well, I think Mayor-elect Paul Young needs to walk in the door and establish himself.
I think he will.
Because if he doesn't,
Yeah.
then everybody's going to be saying that, Susie.
Right.
Yeah.
I did a sit down with him last week that airs next week, and I think he's very much his own man. We'll see.
That's
But
right.
I'm encouraged. All right, Susan, your choice.
My choice, the big story of 2024 is just one word: crime.
Going out on a limb again this year.
It's only so at the end of 2024 I can come back and say I was right again. It's kind of looking at an hourglass, and it's either going to be the part that's more crime is going to happen, it's going to get worse, or it's going to get better. That somehow we will be able to get a handle on the pervasiveness of crime and the uneasiness that it makes people have. I'm hoping that we'll see crime in the headlines because it lessens. We'll have our police chief will be able to exact the programs that she wanted to, and so I'm saying crime will be it, and hopefully we won't have as many car thefts and we won't have as many murders.
Can it legitimately get worse? Is like, and
I don't think it can. I think you make a good point.
I'm obviously
Yeah.
horrible things can happen, and I can look very dumb in a second. But like,
Yeah, but
it
almost
just-
400
Yeah, how does that
homicides.
happen again?
I don't know how you
Yeah.
But I think it can, because
It can.
80% of all homicides, I think the data shows, is people who knew each other.
Well, yeah.
And I think that it could happen again. And
I got to cut you off there, but it is the conversation for sure in the early weeks of the Young administration. I think we're going to see a lot of rollout of new programs. Really quick, future of public education, including school vouchers, was my choice for 2024. I think we're going to see a lot more conversation about that as the suburban school systems now are arming up, and they're not happy about it at all. And you have a lot of other things developing with public education. I think that's going to put that front and center this year.
Yeah.
No one brought up the election of 2024. Because we don't have a lot of interest in it.
It's anticlimactic in
Yeah, it's a formality.
in Memphis and Tennessee.
At least locally. All right. Well, before we go, many of you who watch the show have expressed an interest in being here in the studio with us and watching it in person. If that's you, please shoot me an email at rransom@abc24.com. That's rransom@abc24.com. And in the new year, depending on the response, we'll be in touch with you about how you can register for that. And who knows, we might have some company here in the studio, folks. And if you think it's interesting what we say after the commercial break, you should hear what we say during the commercial break. That's where it really gets interesting. Thanks to everyone for being here. Happy New Year to all of you.
Happy
Happy
New
New Year to you at home as well. And we'll see you next week for ABC24 This Week.